Hey there, it's Morgan. Hopefully you can deal with my lighting situation. I don't have a lot of good light right now because in New England it is very dreary out today, and there's not a lot of good natural light left, and I feel like if I turn on some of these other lights right here, it's just gonna shine right down. So hopefully this is fine. But I wanted to do a video that I've been wanting to do for a little while now. It is basically a spin off of part of a book I read called Girl Code, and the writer of that, Kara, she has a blog that's called The Champagne Diet, and I've really kind of fallen in love with a lot of her posts and the message that she has out there. Women in general are not good at having positive self-talk or being confident, and that's a trap I think all of us fall in at some point in our life. Some of us never come out of it, and some of us are better at getting out of that than others. So one of the blog posts that I really liked of hers that I'm going to just do a little spin-off of this is you should be your own best friend. And so I'm kind of looking at it like why you should be your own biggest fan. And you might be seeing this in the blog post, I'm not sure, maybe it's just on YouTube. But why you should be your biggest fan is kind of my interpretation of being uplifting to yourself, empowering yourself, and validating yourself. Part of the company I work with and my Wicked Lash company, that's like the mission statement of the company. That's what we want for all women in the world, to feel all three of those things. So it goes hand in hand that this blog post that she wrote was just really right up my alley. And in the last 3 years of me working with this company, I've really had to do a lot of learning with those three words, because I don't have always positive self-talk, and that's not uncommon, I think, among women, but I've gotten much better at it in the last 3 years, and I'm going to continue to work on it and continue to get better at it. And a lot of people who know me are a little shocked when they find out that I'm working in a makeup and skincare business, because that's not really what they would think of me. Like, when they thought of Morgan, they wouldn't think, oh, makeup, because it's not my comfort zone, or it hasn't always been. And the way I've really turned this around for me, because it's an amazing company and I'm really in love with the philosophy and I'm in love with the products, it's a tool. Makeup and skincare is a tool that helps build confidence. And confidence is a worldwide understood word. People know what it's like to not have confidence. Everyone in the world can relate to that. And then people also know what it's like to learn how to have that confidence. And so if the company I'm working with is helping people in the world feel better about themselves, I'm all for that. And I've learned to really fall in love with these three words: the uplifting, the validating, and the empowerment. Because it really is, it's not just three words, it's really a lifestyle that we should all really work towards living, because I think it makes life a lot easier. So I've kind of made some notes here. I think I know it mostly by heart here, but the essence of having positive self-talk is it really, it makes life a lot easier. When you like yourself, life just tends to fall into place a little bit easier. It's not, you're not always carrying around this weight on your shoulders about judging yourself, or feeling badly about yourself, or wondering what other people are thinking about you. Those are all things that come along with people who have lower confidence or lower self-esteem, and honestly, a lot of that comes from ourselves. I have daughters and even my sons, and I feel like that is one of the hardest things for me to really power through and show them. And that's one of the goals I have with working with this company, and one of the goals I have with my blog and my business and my income and my job and all these things. And it's really to kind of model what I want them to see, because I grew up not having a lot of self-confidence, not feeling great about myself, and judging myself because I assumed that's what everybody else was doing. And honestly, I was probably the biggest victim and also the biggest what am I thinking here? The one who did it the most. So if I can model positive self-talk and confidence for myself, my children are going to see that too. My friends are going to see that. My coworkers, they're all going to see that there's confidence with me. And so if I set a precedence of respecting myself, then that emulates to the world that I respect myself, and so I expect respect from you in return. And if not, then you don't really have a place in my life. So, and that's a hard thing for a lot of people to wrap their brains around. So it's baby steps, baby steps. And I'm not totally there yet either. I'm not, but I work on it every day. And so I just want you to think about these things that I'm going to talk about here. That everybody has flaws too. If I had to make a list, I could make a really big list. And I think what we need to take away from that is that everyone has a flaw. Whether we see that in them or not, I guarantee you, have their own list of things that they don't like about themselves, and that is okay. But you kind of have to say, screw it. Everybody has flaws. No one's perfect, and that's okay. So we really have to wrap our brain around that it's okay not to be perfect. You know, it's funny, some of my most engaged with posts on my social media page tend to be the ones about me having a flaw. And I think the reason for that is because people who are following my page are seeing that I'm a real human being, and I'm kind of taking it lightly. I'm making the best of a situation that probably happens to tons of people, but they're not all confident to recognize that in themselves, that it's not something that's a bad thing. So I'm finding that really interesting, that when I share my own humanity, that's when I get a lot of the love back from my fan base. And so I encourage you to kind of embrace your flaws and not consider them to be a negative necessarily. And if it is a negative thing for you, if you find one of those flaws, maybe it's a personality trait that you really feel is a negative, work on it. That's okay. We all need work. So embrace your flaws. That's who you are. It's fine. So back to this list that I was just saying, if I had to make a list, it would be probably pretty long. And I will tell you, it's probably going to be shorter now than it would have been 3 years ago. But make a list. If you must do this, make a list. Write down as many things as you don't like about yourself and look at them and read them. Read them out loud at least once. Now, that list of flaws, or that list of things that you don't like about yourself, or the list of things you don't that you would love to change, reading them out loud. Now imagine that somebody is reading that about your daughter, or about your sister, or about your mother, or about your best friend, about your aunt or your grandmother, and how would that make you feel about the person who was reading them out loud about somebody who you loved? So I imagine you'd be pissed. You'd be so mad that somebody was speaking about somebody you love like that. And you'd think that they were wrong. And the problem is we're totally fine with saying things like that about ourselves, but we would never let that happen to somebody we loved. So we really need to reflect upon what we say about ourselves, because that energy that we put out there, the negative energy, we're going to hang on to that, and that is going to be what makes or breaks our confidence. So flip side of this, if you do write a list, make sure that you go back and you write a positive about yourself next to the negative. Now, every one of the flaws, every one of the things you don't like, every one of the negatives, I want you to put a positive thing next to. Even if it's something somebody else has said about you that you don't really feel, put something positive next to the negative, and then add 5. Because negative should never win. Negative is a big fat loser, and it needs to lose. Positive things about you need to win. And you know what? They will if you really think about it. So go ahead and write your flaws down, but make sure you are matching them with a positivity, with something that makes you feel good about yourself, with something somebody's told you that is wonderful about yourself, and then add 5 more, at least 5 more. You can do it if you sit down. If you need help, ask that mother, sister, daughter, grandmother, best friend. Ask them. They will give you a list of things that are amazing about yourself. Match all the negatives and add at least 5. Read them out loud to yourself twice. Read the positives out loud to yourself twice, and see how that makes you feel, as opposed to the negatives that you read out loud about yourself. Then I want you to take that piece of paper and burn it. Truthfully, whatever you wrote down on that is something that has no validity, has no concrete anything for you. Burn it, throw it away. Go pour yourself a beer, sit down and smile and say, I made 5 more positives on that list than negatives, and I'm going to walk away with that all by itself. Hearing the positives about yourself is what you need to walk away with. Sit down, sip that beer or that glass of wine or the champagne, which is what she talks about on her blog, and enjoy yourself. You are a great person. You're the only one that's you. And so we're not going to replicate you anywhere. And that's a good thing. If there was a ton of the same person everywhere, how sucky would the world be? It would be awful. So embrace who you really are. Enjoy yourself. Tell yourself that you're a great person, and tell yourself that you deserve more. So all that negative talk needs to stop. We are our worst enemies. It's not everybody else out in the world. Our negative energy that we're saying about ourselves is what we're assuming that that person in the grocery line is thinking about us if we're having that anxiety. They're probably not thinking anything about that. They might be thinking, wow, great hair, or wow, love those boots. They are probably thinking nothing about that just because they're looking at you. It doesn't mean that they're going, wow, she's so tall, oh my gosh, or wow, ooh, that's a really crazy jacket she's got. They're probably not thinking that. And if they are, who cares? Screw them. Who cares? They have their own issues they're trying to work through if they're projecting something negative on you. That doesn't speak anything about you. It speaks strictly about the kind of person that they are and what they're dealing with on their own. So if somebody has something bad to say about you, or you think they're judging you, let that go. What is it? I watched an episode of Cougar Town, and her therapist on there, and it's hysterical. She said, it's a red balloon and you're going to let it go and it floats away. Love that. It's like one of my favorite things on that show. But it means nothing to you. Their opinion of you means zero, nothing, zip, nothing. Your opinion of you is more important. And the sooner you can get your opinion of you to be positive, the sooner that's going to radiate out to the world. And back to that, you set a precedence of respect for yourself. People are going to recognize that. Your posture is going to be better. You're going to smile more. You're not going to seem as nervous in public. You're not going to portray somebody who's not approachable. The more positivity you give yourself, the better everything works. Everything's in harmony. Everything is happy. And life gets easier. So enjoy who you are. Don't let the world get you down. There's plenty of negativity out there, but don't be the biggest culprit of creating negativity towards yourself, because we are our worst enemies. So we need to turn around and be our biggest fan, and we need to tell ourselves what great people we are. And if we have things that we don't think are great, tell yourself how you're going to work on that. Tell yourself that it's okay. I recognize that that is something that I need to work on. That is a huge step. So go ahead and do that. Anything you can do to put positivity towards yourself, from yourself, is going to create a different energy that you carry around. So that's my confidence talk for you. There's like a Dr. Seuss quote that I'm going to put in the blog post. I cannot think of it off the top of my head, but something about there's only one of you. I wish I could say it. I really feel like a pain now that I can't think of it. I love it though. It's perfect. I'm putting it in the blog post. Be who you are, treat yourself well, and the world will follow suit.